Well, good early afternoon, everyone. My name is Derek Mitchell, and I want to thank you for joining me today. I'm second YouTube video for this day, and today it's on a completely different subject. I want to thank you for coming and spending some time with me. If you do need or want to make any comments, you can email me or comments in the video. My email address is niagaraedge@gmail.com. And you can put comments at the bottom of the video, and please like this video if you do like it, and please subscribe to me if you have an interest in watching more of my videos in the future. Today we're talking about the customer, the consumer. We're talking about the interaction between you as a consumer and the businesses in which you give your hard-earned money to, for whether it be a service or a product. Now, a lot of people there's different types of consumers, different types of purchasers, different types of people out there who have different attitudes about what they're doing and how they're doing business with a company. Some people, I'll just break it down to maybe three different ones. One being a consumer that's very discerning and very, conscious about how they spend their money. This is the number one. I'll call them prudent, the prudent consumer, the person who does a lot of research before they make a purchase, wants to ensure that the service provided with a product or the service that they're purchasing, wants to ensure that once they buy something, they don't have buyer's remorse. Someone who wants to get good value for their money. They're not cheap, but they don't want to overpay for whatever they're purchasing. So that's the prudent investor, the prudent consumer. The second is the impulsive consumer, somebody who buys, and sometimes they may do some research, sometimes they may not, but they basically can be influenced by whatever marketing, advertising, their friends, their family, people who have good words to say, but they're somebody who may go out and buy something very quickly after they hear about it if it suits their personal needs. I'll call them the impulsive buyers, the impulsive purchasers, the impulsive consumer. Okay, and then we have a third person who is just a combination of both cheap and difficult. And either of the other two consumers can be difficult, but the ones who basically don't want to pay anything for a service or a product, or they basically want to get something for nothing. They're always complaining, always making it more, like basically making it the transaction, the relationship between business and the consumer. They're making it very impossible to really do any kind of an arrangement with that person because they always want more than the business can provide. I call those the difficult consumer. So the prudent consumer, the impulsive consumer, and the difficult consumer. So of those three, which are you? Are you a combination of one or two or three, all three? Myself, I've transitioned over the years. I actually was a difficult consumer at one point, and now I call myself a combination of the prudent and impulsive. My gut is impulsive. I like buying things when I want it. But now I'm in a more tight budget, so I take more time to I research and I make sure that I get good value for the product, but I also am willing to pay a reasonable price for whatever I buy. So that's me now. So let's talk about the prudent consumer, somebody who will essentially take time. They're probably your best customer. As long as you've got a good product or service and you stand behind it, they're probably your best customer as a business. They're willing to pay a fair price for what they're getting, but they also want to make sure that they get the support which they've been promised, whatever that support is. So as a consumer, a prudent consumer is a very good consumer for a business. The second is the impulsive consumer. Again, they can be good for the business. They tend to be somebody who is willing to put out money where other people may take a long time to make purchases. If you have a sale, sometimes the impulsive consumer will jump right on that if it's a good price, if they see it. Sometimes if you have a big sign in the window or if you have a big web page that's promoting that, that's very well marketed, you're going to have the impulsive consumer spending money in your business, and they may or may not care about the service aspect of it, but they're going to be more easily willing and a little bit more easily persuaded to buy your product or service. So the impulsive consumer. And then you got the difficult consumer, someone who's just put it simply, they're a pain in the neck. They cost you more to have them as a customer than they would if you didn't. So you need to, as a business, look at each three of these three types of consumers. And as a consumer, you need to decide what type of consumer you can be to be able to get the best experience that you're looking for. What I do is I look for quality products, products that I know are good, are well made, or services that are a good support service. And I have a couple of really good examples. And I won't say the brand, but I will say that I was pretty impressed over the years with these two products. Um, so as a business, you want probably either a prudent consumer or an impulsive consumer, or a combination of the both, because they're going to generally put the money out. They're going to want reasonable support, but they're not going to be a pain in the neck calling you every second day for help if there's something wrong with the product. They're going to spend some time online, especially the prudent researcher. He's going to already know a lot about the product before he buys it. So you're going to want either the prudent or the impulsive consumer. Obviously, the difficult consumer is the one you want to avoid. Now, you can't blatantly, a business cannot blatantly say, you know, I don't want your business. Of course, you want the sale from that person, but there's ways to mitigate the contact with that person. Essentially, you know, sticking by your scope of support for the product or service you're offering. They're going to take a little bit more of the support service line's time, or the email that they would send in to get support. But as long as the person who's on the other end of the line is willing to say, you know, I understand that you're frustrated, or you want this information, and here's some links to be able to help you do that. But you don't need to spend hours and hours on the phone or on an email with them trying to help them, because what they're asking for is essentially support you have not offered as a part of the purchase price of the product. At a certain point, you may even want to say, okay, if you're not interested in what we have, you know, the options that we're providing you, you may want to say at that point, okay, well, we mean politely and professionally, we need to move on from this relationship. If you want your money back, if it's a reasonable proposition, then it might be just better to give the customer their money back and end the arrangement. The first two, the prudent and the impulsive consumer, generally you won't run into that situation unless they're not getting reasonable support from whatever product or service you're offering. In other words, if they buy a product and 2 days later it breaks and it's no fault of their own, they're going to want that warranty to be honored, or they're going to want to return the product or exchange the product. Then you need to be able to honor that. It's a business. If you don't follow through with your obligations, then of course that person could turn into the difficult consumer. So I just wanted to talk about consumers, and think about it yourself. I'm thinking about more myself from a consumer point of view. But because I offer customer support of the work that I do, I definitely can see things from the other point of view as well. So you as a consumer, when you're contacting customer support and you're needing some help, I'll promise you that the nicer you are, the more opportunity you're going to have to get help from those people on the other end of the phone. Not to say you should never be firm. You should absolutely assert yourself and say, you know what, you promised this. I'd like to make sure that I get the kind of support that I believe I'm entitled to based on the purchase or the service purchase that I made. So you need to do that. So as a consumer, always stand up for what you believe that you're entitled to. But again, be polite about it. But if you need to be firm, be firm. And as a business, if a customer comes across too strong, if they're belligerent, or if they're rude or unruly, you have every concern. You can just basically say to them, well, we understand what you're thinking and feeling. This is not an option we can provide at this point. We provide all the options we can. At this point, you need to reconsider what steps you want to make going forward. I hope that helps. I was been thinking about this a lot lately. I've had situations where I bought products where I just was not happy, and some companies have been excellent, and some companies have not been very good when things like that have happened. Two companies in particular that I deal with. One is my internet company, and one is my cell phone provider. Not the provider itself, but the actual physical phone maker are excellent at the support they give. The one is a reasonably local reseller of internet service, and their service is 100% next to none. I've never seen any better service than them. I mean, they do their best to accommodate. They're very flexible on payments. If you're stuck one month, you call them enough advance time, they'll push off the payment for a bit if you want. But it's only occasionally. You can't do that every month. But they're flexible. They understand the consumer. They do their best to accommodate. The cell phone that I had, I actually got through and talked to people when I had some battery issues. They did recommend a recommendation of how to get a battery for a reasonable price. I was well out of warranty, and they still had a conversation with me, which doesn't happen too often. So, very happy about certain types of service. And then, you know what I seem to get the worst service on is just simple impulse buy things like coffee. I find that because they have so many customers, it's really not at times, and at times I've gotten really good service, but at times they just basically, there's no real quality to what they do, and they don't treat the customer very well sometimes, and basically they expect the customer to just take it because it's a coffee as they're going through the drive-through. I know it's hard when you're doing that kind of customer service, but every customer is different, and everybody should be treated nicely. It doesn't mean you have to be their best friend, but a smile and a thank you is definitely appreciated. I've gone through drive-throughs for coffee, and I won't mention again the company name, um, but I don't go there for coffee much anymore because I never get a thank you, not once. I mean, it's like I have to pull teeth. I think I may have over the years when I've gone there, I've gotten one thank you. Um, I thanked them about 1,000 times when I bought my coffees there when I was buying coffees, but I stopped buying coffee there because they just really didn't, and they would make mistakes on the orders regularly too, and that's what was so frustrating. At one time, I ordered the coffee with cream and no sweetener, and it was like so sweet I couldn't even, I was choked. It's like it was not a good experience. So the companies that I deal with, I want to give me a good experience. As a company that I work for, I want to give the customer a good experience, and I want good value. And I think that companies who stand up and protect and back their products and services are amazing. That's it. Talking about the consumer today. If you have any questions or any comments, or if you like this video, please state so at the bottom of the video. Again, my email address is niagaraedge@gmail.com. My name is Derek Mitchell. Thank you so much for taking time today, and I hope you have a wonderful day.